Okay, so here we're live and we're
Yeah.
recording. Um, yeah, I have here, some of you might know me. My name is Kenan. I do the Potential Paradigms podcast and Substack. And today is a beautiful day. I have my dear friend here with me, Dorian. And Dorian and me are both practitioners of martial arts for quite some time. And today, Aikido in particular. And Dorian is a black belt. And just a little bit of background about what we're doing today. As the title suggests, reflections on the art of peace. And art of peace is uh, an incredible text, a spiritual text from the martial artist Morihei Ueshiba. And Dorian will correct me later if I didn't pronounce that correctly.
Morihei.
Morihei
Morihei Ueshiba.
Ueshiba. And he was the founder of Aikido, a Japanese samurai martial art. And we will dive deep into some of the historical aspects in later episodes. But essentially, this is a classical text which has quotes collected from the founder of this ancient samurai martial art, and from different talks of his and different writings of his. And it's quite a contemplative text. And the reason um, behind this series that we're doing, which is contemplating together, reflecting together on some of the quotes, is because my friend Dorian here has been doing that for quite some time and sharing that on his email quite regularly every week. And for me, that was a great inspiration to see the quotes come my way and to also appreciate his deep contemplations and reflections, which also made me to contemplate them. And so here we are today, and I'll maybe let Dorian tell us about the inspiration he had on his contemplations. Um, all right, Dorian, why don't you take it away?
Absolutely. Thank you for the introduction. The first thing might be important for some of the readers to know is the art of peace is a translation of kind of a direct translation of the term Aikido. So when you hear the art of peace in one of these quotes, the words spoken by Osensei were probably Aikido. So there are some things in here that you will understand more if you understand some Japanese. Luckily, the translation's really well done, and so it's not necessary. John Stevens, part of this book, he did the translation on this. We'll go into that in the future. But my journey started with just really enjoying these quotes, just reading them, being inspired by them. And so at first, I just wanted to share the quotes. But as I grew in my understanding of Aikido and my abilities to uh, embody the philosophies and enact them into the world, I began to feel confident enough to share my reflection, my opinion, what it means to me and how it fits into my world and how maybe other people can fit it into theirs. And so that's why I started adding my opinion and my deliberations on the quotes to my more recent uh, emails. And I'm really proud to be here. And the most important thing I think about all of these quotes is the dialogue. They aren't something set in stone that gives you insight by themselves. All of these require a person to reach for them, to put themselves and their minds at work to embody it. And so we are just journeying to find those. So anybody out there who maybe just doesn't agree or doesn't understand where we're coming from, that's totally fine and normal. You should seek it yourself. If it inspires you to ask questions or to look further, then that's great. That's all we wanted. So
Great. Yeah.
that's where we are. So without further ado, if you want, I'll start with the first quote from the book, and then I'll respond, and then we'll have a chat about it.
Okay. Yeah. Dorian, can I just say
Oh,
a
sure.
couple of quick things that came to me? Well, one is, yeah, the art of peace, what I feel is an sort of an exegetical text, as you were saying. So when we contemplate and we read it, it becomes the point is to make it living. And it is I think for this project, since we're starting out, it is inspiring for me to have this opportunity to contemplate in a collective manner. So I'll just
Absolutely.
say that is the perhaps the reward for us as we dive deep into it. And this is an invitation uh, for people who might be listening to it. Two other books that are sort of popular, if you haven't heard of The Art of Peace, just to create a contrast, would be The Art of War
Hmm.
and The Five Rings, I believe.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And
Plenty of
maybe,
wisdom in there too.
yeah, plenty of wisdom in there. And I think uh, that we'll dive more into it, but there are some differences, but it's in the same category. Whereas The Art of War might be more about strategy, The Art of Peace perhaps is um, a different way of looking at it through the lens of harmony, perhaps.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, let me stop there, and we can dive into the first quote.
Okay. All right, here we are. The art of peace begins with you. Work on yourself and your appointed task in the art of peace. Everyone has a spirit that can be refined, a body that can be trained in some manner, a suitable path to follow. You are here for no other purpose than to realize your inner divinity and manifest your innate enlightenment. Foster peace in your own life, and then apply the art of the art to all that you encounter. So, this is a perfect way to start this journey. And I believe that's why this was put on page 1 of The Art of Peace, because it starts by putting the focus on the reader, on the person reading this quote. It begins with me, with you. He points the finger out, saying, us. We have to engage. We have to work on our tasks. We can improve ourselves. And I think I want to draw the attention to two other parts of this, and maybe you can go somewhere else. But I think some of the most important things for me here is this part where it says your innate enlightenment. It doesn't say that enlightenment is something that's on a mountain or out there in the world somewhere that you have to go find. He's saying that there's enlightenment within us right now. And this is the method for uncovering it, which I think is a different message than some people have gotten from mythology and other things of like having to go on some great quest and travel to the ends of the world to get enlightenment or to harm yourself in some way. He's saying, no, it's right there. It's inside you. Inner divinity and innate enlightenment. The second part I want to focus on here, and I think this is very important and practical, especially in our modern age, is it says foster peace in your own life and then apply the art to all that you encounter. So comes back to that idea that we need self-compassion, self-mastery, self-understanding to truly be able to expand it outward to the people around us. It's not we can certainly help people around us on the path, but it says foster peace in your own life. So we need to start from the inside out. Those are the two main takeaways I get from this. And it's one of hope and joy, which is the way I like to practice Aikido.
Hmm.
So what did you hear from that reading?
Well, thank you, Dorian. Yeah, well, spontaneously, what is coming to me is just the profoundness and the depth of this quote. Maybe there is a good reason why this is the first quote.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been a practitioner of spirituality for more than a decade now. Spirituality, or just living a life of contemplation and study.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this quote embodies all of that. And there is so much in each part of it, as you were alluding to it. What touched me, as you said, that the onus is on each one of us. That the art of peace or harmony begins with oneself, and then Sensei, the founder, says that everyone has a spirit that can be refined and a body that can be trained and a path to follow. So I like that delineation that is right here in your body, and that each one can have an individual path. Quite empowering, I feel, and also that there is no other purpose for life than to realize your inner divinity and manifest, as you were saying, Dorian, the innate enlightenment, or the enlightenment we already have. Um, yeah, I think it's simultaneously empowerment and yet tremendous responsibility, because then everything is on you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it puts tremendous amount of responsibility on the individual. Yet, as you go through these quotes, you understand that that the very last part, apply the art to all that you encounter. That all is doing some important work there, because it's not saying apply the art of peace to the people you agree with. It's not saying apply the art of peace to just your friends and loved ones, to all that you encounter. We will apply these principles to every single being that is in front of us, whether there is contention or not. And that it's subtle, and it isn't the first thing that I would see if I read this, but it's an important differentiation, and that all is to combining. So it starts with personal responsibility, but it ends with a directive to act as a unity, to unite people. So individually responsible to unite people together, and
yeah,
that's beauty.
absolutely. And let me, that's inspiring what you said, and let me highlight something that comes to me, which is very profound about this. The line before that, you are here for no other purpose than to realize your inner divinity and manifest your innate enlightenment. So oftentimes in certain schools, or even in certain aspects of our journey or parts of our journey, enlightenment becomes this place of escape in a way, where I have no engagement necessarily with the material three-dimensional reality that I live in. It could be activism, it could be making my living, or how I am in relationship with everybody else. But in some schools of thought, or some forms of enlightenment, the whole point is to recognize one's divinity or spirit, which is not bound by the three-dimensional physical reality, and then that is half part of the equation. The other part is to then bring that and download that, manifest that into this reality. And I really resonate with that, particularly the founder being a martial artist, and that he embodies that into the form. So, anyways, for me, that's the story of my life, and it just seems like a constant process of refinement. Another word that he used, refinement.
Yes,
Maybe
very
a
important.
reflection I might ask you is, do you think there is an end to the process of refinement?
Well, I know not only from the quotes, but from my own personal philosophy, that there is no end to to refining something, because what you're refining isn't like a gemstone. There, in some ways it is and it isn't, but a gemstone that you find in nature is a mineral, and you can only refine it so far until you're just breaking it down. But we are not that. We are living beings, which means that while we are refining, we are also changing. So there is no stasis. There is no final form of that refinement, because we are constantly changing. We're constantly growing. We're encountering new things, new people. Our bodies are changing. We're aging. Maybe we get injured or sick. There are so many things and challenges and changes that happen, that there is no place for a final refinement. There's no place where you go, and this is done. The only place that you can find a final refinement is when you are done with this shell, right? And that's, he's talking about the purpose in life. And while we're here, it's to refine ourselves as best we can and to manifest those refinements to bring about a better world. And after we have refined all we can and our bodies are left and our spirits have moved on, then maybe we can be finished with refinement. Maybe there is a chance. I don't know. But he doesn't speak about after. He's talking about what we can do with what we have here. And so, yeah, the simple answer is no, there's no end to refinement. When you reach the next mountain, you will see another mountain. When you reach the hill after that, you'll see another hill. There's always some other challenge. And that's why he says it. The spirit can be refined. In fact, there's future quotes. You'll see there's always more ways to polish, more ways to understand. And that can be adding, but more importantly, that can be subtracting. Getting rid of unnecessary things can be just as powerful as adding new things you haven't encountered. And through those two processes, we are always refining.
Mm-hmm. I like what you said, and it was reminding me of this text that I read a long time ago called also a movie was made on this text called The Never Ending Story.
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Yes, but at some point, just a brief reflection that there is an idea where the soul yearns for the end of the journey, but I'm beginning to become clued into the idea of this constant improvement, refinement, and revelation, and there is a fear in that. I think the human soul perhaps fears that a little bit, but I also now begin to see a possibility of relaxation in this constant refinement. And if the nature of reality is infinite, then that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's one of these ideas. The pursuit of perfection can be how can I say this? It's like I'll use a sword analogy because it works for this sort of stuff. It's a razor's edge. There's almost no room on that edge. You can pursue perfection to your detriment until you harm yourself, or you can completely choose not to pursue anything and stop refining. But what we were asked to do in Aikido, in the pursuit of peace, is to walk that line, is to improve ourselves, yet not be so tied to being perfect. We have to accept imperfections while trying to refine ourselves towards the goal of being better. And that takes a malleable mind. It takes some holding of what seems like contrasting ideas, especially in a more Western context of winning and losing. You need to find this place between those where you can relax, where you can say, I've done a lot of refining today. I've practiced a lot today. I've done my diligence. I've done my suburi. I've done my prayers. I can enjoy this. I can have time for myself. I can find the place where joy lives in my life. If you do nothing but study, do nothing but train, you may burn yourself out. You may hurt yourself. You may ignore your loved ones and community and all the other things that make a full human life in pursuit of this thing, this perfection, this art. But the art of peace would not be being fulfilled in that case. O Sensei, I believe, would say that's not Aikido. That's not the art of peace. To go towards this physical, Budo mastery to the point of giving up everything else is not what he's asking you to do. Even the people I've talked to at high rank, some of the most wonderful, like Hans Goto Sensei from Beimarin Aikido, amazing Aikidoka, amazing Shihan, but he smiles and greets everybody, and there is just joy emanating from that man. And I think that is just as much of part of this refinement process as getting good at the technique. Is that how can we greet each other? How can we be a joyful human being? And that's part of the refinement.
Yeah, Yeah, I love what you said. I think enlightenment can also be a mysterious word at times, and I think everything that you were saying was somewhat resonates with how I see enlightenment, which is a state of clarity and relaxation, no matter what the circumstance is,
Hmm.
um, and the kind of a true warrior that
Hmm.
perhaps we aspire to become, and in this case, the founder uh, perhaps was one such individual. You know, as you were giving the example of an exemplary samurai who is just very down to earth and very joyful.
Yeah, yeah. It there's this subtlety that comes from enlightenment, and I like to think of enlightenment not as a state, but a process. It's it's a place that when we realize we are feeling enlightened, that's that's only one aspect of it. That's like the tip of an iceberg, right? That's only when we notice it. What we're what the process of enlightenment is what we're doing right now. It's the looking inside, it's the looking at others, it's the questioning the past and yourself and the future and saying, where am I in this sea? Where am I in this ocean? And then having the agency to choose your path. So I think enlightenment is exactly like you said. It's a relaxed state. It's a contemplative state, but it's one that, and oh, here's it. That's what I wanted to say. It's accepting while at the same time retaining agency to act. A lot of times you feel like, well, we act when we don't accept, right? We act as that's a fight. That's a clash. But what he's teaching us is to act with things, act in that's harmony, right? So that's acceptance and agency combined.
Yeah, beautiful. There's one last thing I wanted to mention
Yeah.
from the quote, but
Hmm.
just a quick reflection is one. Of course, enlightenment itself can be a topic of discussion, but um, I agree with everything that you said. But in addition, that ultimately there is this elusive and perhaps not state but process which is natural, that it has to
Yeah.
be uh, completely natural, and
Hmm.
at least that's what I aspire for. But one thing in the quote,
Hmm. Let's go
which
back to it.
yeah, just to see that how much is such a uh, concentrated sentence. But
Hmm.
the word that's coming to me that I just wanted to highlight was at the beginning. The art of peace begins with you. Work on yourself and your appointed task. And so, appointed task.
Hmm.
The reflection that comes to me is that it can sometimes be quite a journey for us to discover our appointed task.
Hmm.
Perhaps a synonym could be purpose or
Hmm.
our true calling. And some of us are, of course, blessed with the clarity very early on in life, that what the purpose is. But for others, it itself is a martial process. That in
Hmm.
that process of refinement that Dorian you were speaking about, uh, we come to discover our true calling and come in alignment with the
Hmm.
appointed task that has been appointed by the universe,
Hmm.
um, or perhaps a version of ourselves that we have forgotten. But yeah, I'll pause there just to highlight another very concentrated word that one could contemplate, what the
Yeah.
appointed task is.
Absolutely. I think that's really good, and I noticed it and didn't think about it. So what I read from appointed task, there's subtext, right? There's some things that, because when you say your appointed task, the first question comes to mind is, how was this appointed? Who appointed this task? What being, what entity, where did it come from? How do I know what that task is? All of these questions are implicit without saying very many words. And that's the part where he's asking us to reach, right? That's where he's like, here's this. Now you have to see that there's that question there that I didn't answer. And about the universe giving your true calling. These are, obviously people have talked about these for quite some time. But it could be the universe. It always is the universe giving you your appointed task. The idea that it's an aspect of you is that you are an aspect of the universe. And that goes back, that links to his inner divinity and innate enlightenment. He's saying that your appointed task will be clear to you as you practice the art of peace. Is that part of this, I think, is this work on your appointed task. He doesn't say it, but part of this is like, this is a method. And I want to just as a side note, I want to say this is only one method. Like, this is not the true path to all enlightenment. But he's saying that in your appointed task, you can find it through the practice of the art of peace. And that's why he says appointed task in the art of peace, right? It's not from the art of peace, it's in it. So when you embrace the ideals, the philosophy, and the people practicing with you and your current reality, that's the appointed task becomes less mystery and gives you direction. And I think what's most important for anyone's true calling isn't so much the goal, it's a direction. If you know where your task is pointing you, move that direction. It may not end up where you thought it would. You may not end up the same person you wanted to be at the beginning, but a direction is what's really important. The universe will guide you along the way, and you need to listen to that. But I think one thing that's a common thing that happens with people thinking of their calling is they think it's a destination, but it's really just direction. And that's what I think that's a good place for us to nearly close this out, because that's what we're doing now. This is just the first episode. This is the first talk we've had on a video, and we're going to go from here. And we don't know exactly which way that's going to go. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to be discussing it, and we're going to see how it goes along. And if anybody who reads this comments on it and adds to it, that could change our direction.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that distinction of destination versus direction. And we like surprises. I think sometimes it's good to reach destinations that we didn't even think were possible.
Some of the most joy I've had are ending up in places where if I didn't just say yes, if I didn't just, you know what, I'm not going to do the thing that's obvious this time. I'm going to do something else. And I've ended up in places, seeing people and experiencing things that I never thought I would.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. So yeah, as you said, good place to close, and we'll keep making it better. Maybe I think as we go back, we'll bring a bit more clarity as to why this text is profound, and we'll share the quotes perhaps on the Substack and on YouTube if it goes out there. And we really invite the audience to contemplate with us and share with us how you see the quote or what touches you in the quote. And yeah, that would be very joyful for us in this very rich collective contemplation.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give my one. Selfishly, I enjoy answering questions. So when people engage with me, it brings me great joy. And that's something that I'm hoping, and I'm glad that you invited me to start this process with you.
Oh, thank you, Dorian. And of course, it's been inspired by your, if not, I think it's been more than a year that you've been sharing these.
Yeah, it's over 2 years. Yeah.
Over 2 years. Yeah.
I think I just did 128. And I've only skipped a week or two for different holidays and vacation. So that's well over 2 years.
Yes. Yeah, wonderful. And here it is now on a new medium, from email to Substack and video.
Yeah.
Okay, so we pause the recording here. Thank you everyone for joining, and we will see you for the next episode next week.
Arigato.
Arigato. Bye. And stop.